Hi, I'm Nancy Chang from Action Tech. When you're teaching a lesson, do you ever see blank stares in your students' faces? Or what about getting one-word responses from your students? I know that keeping students engaged in your class is not always easy. So what I'd like to do today is to talk about the concept of classroom agility and how classroom agility increases student interactions and increases collaboration in your classroom. The concept of classroom agility started at Action Tech. We're a global company with over 20 years of experience in developing internet access devices for service providers in North America, such as TELUS, CenturyLink, and Verizon. If you have a Verizon in your home, your router was probably made by us. We're also active in various Wi-Fi organizations, such as the Wi-Fi Alliance. Our headquarters is in Sunnyvale, California, and we also have branch offices in Colorado, Luxembourg, Australia, Japan, Taiwan, and China. Over the past few years, we've extended our Wi-Fi expertise into wireless display technologies. Wireless display is the ability to mirror content from a mobile device to the big screen. And what differentiates us from other competitors is that we're Microsoft's co-engineering partner for wireless display. Together with Microsoft, we created ScreenBeam wireless display receivers. These receivers attach to the touchscreen monitor or an interactive whiteboard and TV. With ScreenBeam wireless display receivers, you can mirror content from a Windows 10 device to your classroom display without using cables. ScreenBeam is the gold standard for wireless display in Windows 10. Microsoft's engineering team built Windows 10, and they chose us to help them develop wireless display in the operating system level. So that means when Dell, Toshiba, HP, or Lenovo are making any Windows 10 devices, they have to make sure that their devices work with the ScreenBeam wireless display receivers before it's even available to ship out into the market. ScreenBeam is also designed for Surface devices, and that's because our engineers worked hand in hand with the Surface team at Microsoft to enable wireless display in those tablets. If you get a chance to visit the Microsoft campus in Redmond, you'll actually find hundreds of receivers, ScreenBeam receivers, in Microsoft's conference rooms. Also, Microsoft sales teams are using ScreenBeam receivers when they visit customers. We're also running various commercial and education marketing programs with Microsoft. For instance, if you go to Microsoft's education portal, you'll see a training module about ScreenBeam and Windows 10. Now that you have an understanding of our deep partnership with Microsoft, let's talk about what is classroom agility. Classroom agility is the ability to move quickly and easily in the classroom. It's the ability to think and understand quickly in the classroom. As agile educators, we're constantly in motion. We could be moving around the classroom, monitoring students, answering individual questions, making some suggestions, or just retasking students who are off task. Being agile helps us adapt to students' behaviors and needs. It gives us an opportunity to give positive or negative reinforcement more easily, and we can control and manage the class properly. But does classroom agility stop because we're using technology? Yeah, it stops because that means that we're stuck at the battle station. In the battle station, we can have a computer, a document camera, a printer, interactive whiteboard. All these devices are stuck in the front of our room. So that means when I want to share a lesson on the projector screen, I'm chained to the projector cables and my computer. Being fixed in one location makes it hard for me to see what my students are working on. So when I'm writing on the interactive whiteboard, my back is actually facing my students. And that can be challenging because that means I can't gauge whether students are understanding the lesson. Even if a student needs help, I have to stop what I'm doing on my computer, help the student at his or her desk, walk back to the computer to continue on with the lesson. So you can picture that shuffling back and forth between students and the battle station actually disrupts the flow of lesson. I'm no longer agile, and that's because technology has gotten in the way. Well, so the follow-up question is, how can technology enhance classroom agility? Well, the answer is, it's a combination of Windows 10 and ScreenBeam wireless display. With Windows 10 and ScreenBeam, this allows me to share lessons on the projector. At the same time, still have the flexibility that I need to be able to roam the room and assess how students are doing. To create classroom agility with Windows 10 and ScreenBeam, it's pretty easy. Here's a teacher's tablet. All you have to do is attach the ScreenBeam 960 receiver to the projector, and you'll see an image of the projector screen that says ready to connect. On the bottom right corner of the tablet, press the connect button, and in a few seconds, your tablet is now wirelessly connected to the projector. All this is happening without installing additional software on your computer to get wireless display. And that's because wireless display is already natively built inside Windows 10 devices. So once I have ScreenBeam set up, one of my favorite things I like to do on my computer is actually turn it into a mobile document camera. So for example, if I'm roaming around the room and notice that a student's doing fantastic work, I can walk over to the student's desk, and using the built-in camera function on my tablet, I simply take a picture of my student's makerspace or art project and can quickly share it with the rest of the class on the big screen. I can even show live videos of students' projects on the big screen. And students love it when they get a chance to see their work on the big screen. And that's because they want other students to see what they've done. When I'm sharing students' work on the big screen, this actually gives students a sense of accomplishment and ownership of what they're learning. A popular question that people ask me is, how do you actually connect a Windows 10 device to ScreenBeam? The answer is a point-to-point technology called Miracast. Miracast is already built into Windows 10 and ScreenBeam, so that means you don't have to install any additional drivers or software. When you connect to a ScreenBeam receiver, the school network bandwidth is untouched as content is streamed from the computer to the display. But if you're using infrastructure mode, when you want to wirelessly display content on the big screen, that means you're going over the school's network and teachers and students are using the bandwidth at the same time. This can cause the school's network to be congested. So that screen mirroring session will likely have choppy videos or maybe unstable connections between devices. So that means that when you're using Miracast connections between the devices, it's actually a great tool to have classroom agility without worrying about technology getting in the way. Here's a visual of what classroom agility looks like. Now that I'm untethered from my computer and projector cables, I don't have to worry about shuffling back and forth between my battle station and students anymore. It also gives me proximity control, which is the ability to continue teaching whilst controlling distractions in the classroom just by being next to my students. I can also have students participate more in the class. For instance, it's easy for me to hand off my tablet to a student, ask her how he solved a math problem, and as she's solving the math problem on the tablet, the entire class can follow along on the classroom display too. Using extended mode on Windows 10, I can pull a small group of students aside to go over the steps of solving last week's homework problem. At the same time, be able to share the problem of the day on the big screen to the rest of the class. Or maybe I want to show a video to the class and at the same time grade student homework or check my emails. And that's pretty nice to be able to multitask. And if I want to, I can return to the front of the classroom just as quickly as it takes to walk to the front of the room. When it comes to a traditional classroom setup, now it doesn't really matter where my students' desks are or how the class is arranged. I could even arrange the desks in rows and still capture students' attention because now I have the flexibility to move around the classroom and be next to my students. So far, we've talked about the power of classroom agility. And to recap, it's the ability to think and move quickly in the classroom while you're using technology. The classroom agility helps students focus and increase classroom participation. Now what I'd like to do is take student interactions a step further with a new technology called wireless touchback and wireless inkback. Let's say on a large touchscreen display, you are sharing a diagram of the water cycle that your student just found. You want to add additional notes to the classroom display. So all that inking that I just did on the large touchscreen gets automatically sent back to the student's device. This is pretty amazing technology because now my students don't have to worry about taking notes anymore. It's automatically saved on that mobile device, so they can focus more on the lesson and not have to worry about taking notes anymore. Traditionally, when you want to connect your computer to the large touchscreen display, you're probably tethered to HDMI or VGA cables, as well as a USB cord. By connecting the USB cord to the USB input on the ScreenBeam 960, you can now be completely untethered from cables and send the feedback from a large touchscreen back to your student's device, and this is all happening in real time. To get the wireless touch and wireless inkback feature, in the wireless display connection box, you'll want to check the checkbox that says Allow input from a keyboard or mouse connected to the display. There's no additional software hardware needed to get the benefits of this wireless ink and touchback. And again, that's because it's already integrated into the Windows 10 device and ScreenBeam. So far we've talked about the two topics, classroom agility and the beauty of wireless touch and inkback. Recently, we've added a third layer to the wireless classroom, and it's called ScreenBeam Classroom Commander. It's a simple and elegant wireless orchestration software. With this Classroom Commander teacher app and student app installed on each computer, this gives you the flexibility to monitor all of your students' devices in real time. So, on the teacher device, you'll want to open up the Classroom Commander app and select the ScreenBeam receiver. Once your students are connected to the Classroom Commander, you'll immediately see a thumbnail view of all of your students' screens. Let's say your students are learning about the water cycle, and you notice one of your students found a fantastic diagram. So you want to be able to share it with the rest of the class. And you can do this instantly now. You can then continue on with the lesson. Let's say you're using OneNote, and maybe after a few minutes, you discover some of your students are on YouTube watching a baseball game. So Classroom Commander is going to enable you to blank your students' screens to help them stay focused. And the student screens are locked, as well as the mouse and keyboard. So you have full control over the student's device now. And if you want to, you can even decide to blank all of your students' screens so that they can focus on the lesson and not be distracted by the computer. One of the cool things that's also in Classroom Commander is the ability to launch URLs or open up programs like Minecraft or OneNote, and this can all be distributed across your students' devices at the same time. That's a pretty cool feature because it's a big time saver. It's going to save you valuable instructional time and help keep your students engaged. If you work with the IT department, ScreenBeam Receivers includes a central management system software, and this CMS enables your IT to be able to remotely configure and manage large groups of receivers. The CMS is going to be a big time saver for your IT, and that's because your IT is able to group receivers by location. They can rename the ScreenBeam receivers, even change security policies, or customize the background and quickly update firmware, all from one click of a button. Unlike other wireless display systems in the market, ScreenBeam is enterprise class and is designed for school environments. We have hundreds of schools already using ScreenBeam, such as Mesa Public Schools, one of the largest school districts in Arizona. They've deployed over 4,000 ScreenBeam receivers, so you can imagine the power of having CMS, helping IT deploy ScreenBeam in just a few minutes. I know we've covered a lot of information today, so I'd like to give you a recap of the highlights. First, ScreenBeam enables classroom agility while using technology. That means you have the flexibility to move around your classroom and reach students where they are without letting technology get in the way. Second, you can give real-time feedback with wireless touchback. So any annotations that you make on the large touchscreen display are automatically saved on your student's device. Another key point is with Classroom Commander, you can add it to the teacher and student devices, and that's going to allow you to monitor what all of your students are doing and be able to easily share student work instantly, or perhaps even launch URLs or programs on all your students' devices. Finally, the last point I'd like you to remember is that ActionTech is Microsoft's wireless display partner. So the ActionTech ScreenBeam receivers are designed for school environments that use Windows 10. It's based on the Miracast protocol, which uses a peer-to-peer network, so it's not going to go over your school's Wi-Fi network. And that means the network bandwidth is untouched as content is streamed on the classroom display. I hope you found this webinar helpful, and if you have additional questions or comments, feel free to reach out. My email is nchang@actiontech.com.